Okay, so welcome. Thank you for joining us for our very first online open house for Code for Canada. Thanks for joining us. I'm Gabe Sawney. I'm the Executive Director of Code for Canada.
And I'm Leah Melito. I'm the Fellowship Program Manager at Code for Canada.
So we're really happy to be doing this first open house. This first online open house. We plan to do these regularly as a way of connecting with folks who are interested in learning more about what we're doing and to share a little bit about what we're working on. So what we're going to do today is talk a bit about what Code for Canada is, what we're currently working on, and in particular the fellowship program, which applications for which are open right now, and then we'll take some questions at the end. And I know that for some this is lunchtime, and so we're going to do our best to keep this to time. And if we don't get to questions at the end, our contact info is on the screen right now, and we'll bring it back up later. We would love to talk to you either or through email afterwards. So Code for Canada is a new nonprofit we launched just 2 months ago. We're modeled after similar organizations in other countries. Code for America is perhaps the most well-known. It's been around since 2009. And our one-liner is that we help connect government innovators with the tech and design community to improve life for Canadians. Where that comes from is we're inspired very much by the work and the programs offered by Code for America, and so we're adapting that to Canada. What we've heard in talking to people in government is that many of them are ready to adopt new tools and practices that are going to help them better meet, especially as it relates to using technology and design and using digital channels. But that they could use some help, and that's through our programs. That's help that we hope to provide. We've also heard from talking to technologists and designers that they would love to have the opportunity to use their skills for more impact, to be able to apply their skills to complex and meaningful issues, the kinds of issues that government works on every day. So first, I'd like to walk you through the 3 programs that we're currently working on. The first and our biggest at the moment is our fellowship program. This is a program through which we give designers and product managers who have experience building digital products in the private sector. We give them the opportunity to apply their skills to public service by embedding them into particular teams in government to work on specific projects for 9 months. We've and in fact, we're going to be our first cohort of fellows is going to be starting this year, and applications are open right now. And Leah will tell you more about that. In a moment, we'll go into more detail on the fellowship program. But for now, I'd like to tell you about our other 2 programs. What we call the Civic Tech Community Network, and this is a program that's going to help us strengthen the civic tech ecosystem in Canada. Where currently there's a lot of really great civic tech work going on through community groups like Beta City in Edmonton, like Civic Tech Toronto in Toronto. What we'd like to do is help support the community organizers who are convening these civic tech communities in places across Canada, to help those communities grow and to help civic tech entrepreneurs to bring a sort of an extra level of sustainability to doing this work of understanding and meeting residents' needs through technology and design. Finally, we've got our education and training program. This is through this program, we help offer training and courses to public servants in order to help them better understand the tools and practices of digital government and civic tech. And we also offer workshops to civic tech communities, to technologists and designers who are interested in better understanding how to engage with government, how to engage with nonprofits, and how to use their skills for impact and to help enable positive change. So that's a snapshot of our programs to date. The partners who we're currently working with are the Government of Ontario. They're our founding partner and will be the hosts for our first group of Code for Canada Fellows. And our lead partners are Shopify and Normative. Shopify is helped us with hosting our launch event a couple of months ago, and they've played a really important role for us in helping us design the fellowship recruitment process. And Normative are a design and innovation company based in Toronto who are hosting our staff in their offices, and also providing support in terms of helping us build out our capacity around design, innovation, and supporting us in a few ways behind the scenes. So we're very, very thankful to be working with these partners and have a number of other supporters who we're working with and hoping will come on as partners as well. And with that, I'll pass it to Leah, who'll tell you more about the fellowship.
Great. So Gabe gave you a bit of a high-level look at what Code for Canada does as an organization, and I'll dive in here to the fellowship program specifically. So like Gabe mentioned, the fellowship embeds teams of technology professionals into government to build great digital public services. But not only that, they develop great digital products, but are also involved in helping enable knowledge exchange between those who work in government and who have a great understanding of how government works, and those who have some experience likely in the private sector developing digital tools. So the fellowship both create great digital public services, but also to enable knowledge exchange. And so I'll tell you a little bit about how we make that possible. There's a lot of support behind the scenes that Code for Canada does for the fellows, for our government partners as well. Starting with several months before the fellows are even in the door, we're working closely with our government partners to identify and scope projects that will enable fellows to use their skills to really make a great impact and to make a meaningful impact with the work that they're doing. We also do a for both fellows and the government teams who will be hosting them, to prepare them each to kind of learn to speak one another's language, to work together really well, and to get to just have a great experience collaborating together over the course of the fellowship. So fellows will have a month of training in Toronto where they'll learn how government works, learn how decisions are made in government, and prepare themselves to work together in the fellowship. Hosting teams will be with us for a month of that training to learn more about the tools and processes that fellows will use, and to enable both the hosts and the fellows to get to know one another and work together before they touch the ground in government together. And finally, throughout the fellowship, there is ongoing coaching and mentoring for both the fellows and for the government hosts to help overcome any barriers that they might encounter during the fellowship. So this is a really well-supported program, and we really are put a lot of thought into how we can support these two groups of people who have very different skill sets and very different important skill sets to be able to work together really productively. So in terms of the more kind of nitty-gritty of how things work, fellows work in teams of 3. So each team has a web developer, a UX designer, and a product manager who work closely together with their government host. It's a full-time program with an October start. a 10-month program. 1 month is training, and the following 9 months is the fellows will be embedded with their government hosts. And right now we have a confirmed, it's Toronto-based for a confirmed team in Toronto, and we're working with other governments to line up fellowship teams elsewhere across Canada as well. So if you are in Toronto and this sounds interesting to you, please apply. But if you're not in Toronto and don't think that you have the for October or interest in being in Toronto, but this is interesting to you, I still encourage you to apply for the fellowship. So that's a bit about how it works, and I'll to give you a bit of a sense of how what fellowship projects look like on the ground. We're lucky in that this isn't the first time a program like this has started. There are organizations, like I think Gabe mentioned, across in other countries around the world that do a similar fellowship program, and so we can give you some sense of the types of work that fellows will do through those. So starting with Get Cal Fresh, which is a project from Code for America, where it was an online application that fellows created that helped Californians access healthy food through the state's food stamp program. So Code for America fellows redesigned the application, reducing the time that applicants needed to get through the process by 80%, and they made the process easier, more accessible, and ultimately also more respectful of residents' time. And so the result of that program is that many more Californians have gotten enrolled in CalFresh and now have access to healthy foods through the support system in that state. Next, I'll talk a bit about a program from Code for Australia. So Code for Australia fellows recently worked with Victoria Legal Aid, which is an organization that provides assistance to over 200,000 Australians every year. And the staff of Victoria Legal Aid were spending a lot of their time answering questions and helping their clients find the right services for them and helping match them up with the resources that were available to them. So Code for Australia fellows found an opportunity to streamline that process and basically developed an online triaging app that helps residents find the legal assistance they need, which was a better experience for residents, of course, and also saved the agency lots of time and resources. And the application is expected to save 30 hours of staff time a week. And it was in fact so successful that at the completion of the fellowship, the Victoria Legal Aid hired on all 3 fellows to extend their work because they were so pleased with the work that the fellows were doing in Australia. Moving back to the States, Code for America fellows completed a project called Biz Board. So Biz Board is something that helps aspiring entrepreneurs in Long Beach, California, navigate the steps to start a small business. This process to obtain permits and get the small business process going was piecemeal and cumbersome for both business owners and city staff. And Code for America fellows gathered the information that was necessary if you were going to start a small business in one easy-to-use online application that let entrepreneurs spend less time on paperwork, standing in lines at counters, and more time actually growing their business. And finally, an example of a great project from Mexico City called Mapatón. This is a really interesting game where a really interesting application. Before the Code for Mexico City fellows were on board, the transit system in Mexico City was incredibly complex and chaotic, and was actually, believe it or not documented anywhere. There was nowhere that you could go to get a clear map of what the city's transit system looked like. And Code for Mexico City fellows developed a game where players could score points by collecting data about the city's transit routes. And the work done by fellows and the players who were residents of the city resulted in the first ever map of Mexico City's bus routes, which is a really great example of how technology used thoughtfully can also increase and change the way that residents can engage with their governments. So if projects like that sound like things that you'd be really excited to work on, I encourage you to apply for the fellowship. We're looking for experienced tech professionals, as I mentioned earlier, with backgrounds in development, UX design, and product management. And we're looking for folks who are excited about making a positive impact with the skills that they have and tackling challenges. And I should mention, you know, if you're debating whether or not to apply, that this really is not like other jobs. This isn't like many other tech jobs out there. It's an opportunity to work on things that matter and have a huge impact use your skills to make a huge impact. It's an opportunity to build connections. The civic tech sector in Canada is something that's really growing, and you will, as a member of the first cohort of Code for Canada Fellows, you'll be connected with people who are really doing that growing. You'll be able to learn something new by working in government. Because of the focus on knowledge exchange, you will be applying your skills, but you'll also be learning how decisions get made in government and how things happen in government, which is an incredibly valuable expertise to develop. You'll be working in small teams with your government partners, and based on user research you'll decide what you build and how you build it in collaboration with your government hosts. And finally, and I think this is really important, it's a field that you'll find that people who are doing this kind of work really love what they do and are really excited to be doing the work that they're doing. So if you want to be working around people who are excited to be making an impact, who are really hopeful about how their skills can make Canada a better place, then this is a job where you'll be around people who feel like that all the time. Which, speaking as someone who feels so thrilled to have that experience every day, it's a huge benefit to be able to go to work and be around people who are really excited about what they're doing. If all of this sounds awesome to you, which I hope it does, you can apply for the fellowship now. The application is open until June 20th. And you can go to code4.ca/apply to fill out the application, again, by June 20th. And you can also give me a shout if you have any questions about the application process. My contact information will go up at the end of the presentation. I'll pass it back to Gabe.
Great. I know that there may be some people on this on this online open house who are actually interested in the other side of it, who work in government and who may be interested in bringing on a team of fellows to work with them. We will be setting up in the coming weeks a special webinar specifically for to talk about that, to talk about what's involved in bringing on a group of fellows. So please drop me a line if you'd be interested in joining that webinar. My email is gabe@code4.ca. And so that's what we've got to offer in terms of slides and story right now. We'd love to get some questions for you. Before that, just to kind of wrap up, want to say, if you are someone who's interested in applying, please do. As Leah mentioned, if you know others who you think would be good for the fellowship program, please let them know about it. Please share our website, point them to the fellowship, to information about the fellowship. Let them know about it. Encourage them to apply. If you're also looking for other ways of getting involved, you can, on our website, on the community network page, there's a map that shows where there are currently active or forming civic tech community groups in Canada. So we encourage you to check that out and join your local group if there is one, and potentially consider starting one if there isn't one in your community right now. We'd also love it if you help just spread the word about Code for Canada in general. We're quite a new initiative, but we're moving quickly, and really excited about this opportunity for those who are interested in applying their tech and design skills in public interest. And drop us a line. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear about what you're interested in, and so please let us know. And so now we've got time for a few questions. So if you've got any, please type them into the live chat. If you're able to access that, We'd be happy to take questions there now. Or if you prefer to ask questions by email, our email addresses are on the screen right now. Please feel free to drop us a line now or later as questions come up. If you've got questions specifically about the fellowship program, you can send them to Leah. But in being a government host and joining that webinar I mentioned that'll happen in the next few weeks, drop me a line. For anything else, you can email hello@code4.ca and we'll get to the right person. Great, okay, we saw Carrie's question was answered. Yes, in fact, the first month of training is intensive and in person. And then once fellows are actually embedded in government, they'll be working at least 4 days a week on site. And so if this was the kind of project where we knew we had the spec and we knew exactly what needed to be built in advance, I think that working remotely would be feasible. But one of the really essential things about the fellowship is that it's a very collaborative and very iterative process that involves the kinds of tools that are and conversations that are really best had in person. And so very like intensive on-site kind of program. Great. Let's see. Question from Jay. Stand outside of government to so the question is about sort of how the fellowship will may grow in the future. Yeah, we're very interested in bringing other kinds of partners and intermediaries to the table to work with them in different ways. We've begun having conversations about that. And want to keep doing that. The sort of design and shape of the fellowship for our first year, which is the year that we're accepting applications for right now, is comparatively straightforward in that the fellows will be working on a single project in government, and so that's the way that we've designed it at the moment. But we're very interested in the future in figuring out how we can adapt this fellowship model to other kinds of projects with a different set of partners. So I'd be very happy to talk to anyone who's interested in those conversations and exploring that. Question from Brent about what projects fellows will be working on. Do you want to speak to that, Leah?
Sure. We're still in the process of scoping initial projects out. We can say that working with the Government of Ontario's Ministry of Advanced Education and Skills Development, and we're right now in the process of finalizing what exactly the problem framing and the scope of that project will be. But applicants will know before they during the application process. You'll know before you get an offer and have to commit what the project will be.
Great, and I think that we may have also answered Christine's question, what they'll be working on. So that's still kind of emerging at the moment, but we're hoping to have clarity on that soon. So great, so we're almost at 1 o'clock. So really, thank you so much for being part of our first online open house. We'll keep you, if you haven't already, please sign up for the newsletter on our website, and we'll make sure to let you know when there are future ones of these where we can give you updates on what's happening. We've also got a blog where we post regularly, so if you're interested in following our progress as we go, that's a great place to do it as well. And please reach out. We'd love to hear from you, email or social media. We're excited about to launch the fellowship program and to launch the organization, and we're really interested in connecting with more people across the country to build those relationships and connections between government and tech and design. So thanks a lot for being part of this. Bye.